Hi, comrades. Greetings and Lal Salam. Sri Lanka has a special place in our common history because of its unique proletarian socialist traditions. It was the Sri Lankan comrades within the Bolshevik-Leninist Party of India in the days of the Second World War who helped to build the movement which overthrew British imperialism throughout the subcontinent. In 1953, there was the Great Hartal, which was led by the workers' movement in Sri Lanka. These noble traditions, tragically, were buried for the last few decades by the vile curse of communalism. There were two futile civil wars in which thousands of young people lost their lives. And this convention of the Frontline Socialist Party shows that nevertheless, the old traditions of workers' unity and socialism are not dead, but they're rising to their feet once again. Just one word about my history in this regard. I first came to Sri Lanka for the founding conference in 1977 of what was then the Nava Samaja Party, at that time embodying the finest proletarian traditions that came from the mass workers' party of the past, the Lanka Samaja Party. Then came the 1980 general strike. I was here at the time of the general strike also. The last display of workers' unity before the terrible dark thunderclouds of communalism blotted out those traditions. I have treasured lifelong links with comrades from those days in Sri Lanka, and I'm proud to still be coming and supporting and expressing solidarity with you comrades. Capitalism around the world is baring its fangs once again. Half a century or more, 7 or 8 decades of pretending to show a smiling, democratic, liberal face, they're gone. Capitalism once again is red in tooth and claw. We see a tiny handful of billionaires, a shrinking handful of ultra-rich billionaires who now completely control the world within their grasp. Elon Musk is soon going to become the world's first trillionaire. A man with $1 million. Translate that into crores. I can't even calculate the number of zeros. The war with Iran will rock the foundations of civilization worldwide. The genocide in Gaza, which has been the worst example of the bloodthirstiness of capitalism since the days of the Nazis and of the Hiroshima bomb. The war in Ukraine, the civil wars in Sudan and Yemen and Myanmar and many more. The long depression in the economy, which is soon leading to a catastrophic economic crisis just looming ahead now, an economic crash. The climate catastrophe, racism, brutality, harsh repression, far-right governments coming to power in countries throughout the world, from the USA to India and throughout Europe. There's hardly one spot on earth which is not showing the most brutal and savage face. Now, we all know about these horrors, the horrors of a diseased and dying system. But there is also another truth, and that is something which we have to keep remembering, because it's hidden from us every day in the commentaries of the world press and media. That other truth is the huge uprising of the masses, struggling to make their voices heard, struggling to get liberation from the horrors of capitalism. In the USA, 7 million people marched in protest against Trump. There was an uprising of the entire city of Minneapolis in solidarity with the victimized migrant workers of that city. There have been worldwide protests in every country at the Gaza genocide. There's been constant uprisings throughout Latin America, throughout Africa. And let's look at Asia. We saw the magnificent Arigalaya in Sri Lanka, which sent packing the billionaire gangsters of the Rajapaksa dynasty. We saw the uprising in Bangladesh, which put to flight the Sheikh Hasina regime. We've seen youth uprisings in Nepal, in Indonesia, in the Philippines, huge mass movements of young people which have completely changed the whole balance of forces throughout Asia. And what about India? People don't talk about this. People don't talk about the incredible rumblings of struggle and of revolt that are making themselves felt in India. We had last week alone, just last week, how many people here know about this even? Last week we had a strike of 30 crore workers. That's 300 million workers went on strike last week in India. That is the biggest movement of humanity in all of world history. That's something, and it wasn't in the press, it wasn't known, it was just dismissed. I'm afraid even some commentators in India itself just dismiss it and say, oh, well, you know, it's just, these things happen. It's true, there have been many general strikes in the last few years in India of 25 crore, 2-day strikes. 25 crore people missing out on 2 days of pay, 2 days of earnings, 2 days which they desperately need to feed their families and to stay alive. And they gave that up. Now, yes, all these learned commentators and journalists, and even, I'm afraid, some sectarians, they just say, oh, well, you know, they're just letting off steam. Well, yes, they may be letting off steam, but look how much steam there is for that to happen, for 300 million people, for 30 crore people to give up their pay in order to demonstrate their solidarity and their protest and their determination to fight against the ruling class and to fight against capitalism. So, therefore, we can be very, very happy about the prospects. And one other thing, and what we saw particularly in Sri Lanka and in Bangladesh and in Nepal and in the Philippines and in Indonesia, is that also that problem of the young people who cannot find a living, who cannot get a living, who can't find a work, who can't get a job. That youth unemployment problem in India too is a ticking time bomb, and it will explode with absolute infinite power, and it will explode, it will rock the world when that comes to pass. So I want to say, we all know about these things, but if ever before in world history there was a need for a United Workers International, it's now. Me and my comrades, we joined together worldwide to build the Workers' International Network. We meet weekly for worldwide Zoom discussions, hearing first-hand reports from the front line of class struggle in every continent of the world. You, comrades, are very welcome. Please, let's, if you have not got the link, we'll give you the link. We'll meet every week. We meet to compare notes, to discuss, and to learn the lessons together from those struggles. And you, comrades, are especially welcome, you comrades of the Frontline Socialist Party. We salute the initiative of the FLSP in setting out this goal, Let's all work together to build it, to build the world, most powerful force in the world, which would be the Workers' International. Mazdur Ekta Zindabad, Inqilab Zindabad.